got the press release at around. I was actually on the phone with our friend Nada earlier today, and all of a sudden I get the little notification across my computer that Carolina football and Dre Bly mutually decide to part ways, a conscious uncoupling. This is the quote from Mac Brown. We love Dre Bly and appreciate what he means to the University of North Carolina as a Hall of Famer, an unbelievable advocate for the program, an excellent coach. Dre and I mutually agreed to part ways so that he can explore other opportunities in the coaching profession. We appreciate everything he's done for the program over the last few years and wish him nothing but the best moving forward. When we talk about Dre Bly and the Tar Heels, we're talking about two different things, I think, Giglio. We talk about the recruiting success that Dre Bly has had, but then there's the development and the results on the field that go along with it. The recruiting part's probably where we should start first, because that's what really matters to Carolina in a lot of ways. Making sure that they kill it on the recruiting trail, which is what he has done.
There's no Mac Brown 2.0 without Dre Bly. This is going to hurt Carolina. This is a significant loss for Carolina. And you could tell me, oh, so-and-so didn't develop or the secondary was a mess. But does that really matter when Sam Howell? Dre Bly is the chief person responsible for Sam Howell playing quarterback for North Carolina. Mm-hmm. There is no Mac Brown 2.0 with Sam Howell, without Sam Howell, right, who was ticketed to go to Florida State, by the way. Okay? That Charlotte area, all the players that he got out of the Charlotte, Josh Downs, his nephew. Mm-hmm. By the way, Josh Downs' dad played football at NC State. Okay? Don't get me started on this. So even if all Dre Bly did, which is not all he did, but even if all Dre Bly did was make sure you got Sam Howell and Josh Downs, wasn't that worth anything else? Yeah. So obviously Dre is a friend of Torrey Holt's. I have a relationship with Torrey Holt. I have tremendous respect for Dre Bly. If I'm NC State, I'm calling Dre Bly right now. And I'm telling him, come on over.
Wow.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, interesting. The Mike O'Kane switcheroo. If you don't remember, Mike O'Kane was the head coach at North Carolina. He eventually landed as an offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, NC State head coach. He ended up being an offensive coordinator at just about every ACC school.
To give you my favorite Debbie Yow quote in the history of the world, don't give me any of that coach 'em up stuff. Give me somebody who can recruit.
But hold on a second. You do got to coach him up, man.
But that doesn't have to be his job.
Our friend Brian Ives over at the ACC Network pointed this out. Over the last 4 seasons, North Carolina's defense ACC ranks. These are ACC ranks.
He's not their defensive coordinator.
What was one of their worst units, Joe?
Their secondary was a problem. I think Cam Kelly was the biggest problem.
All right.
I mean,
14th in completion percentage, 13th in passing yards per game, 12th in yards per pass attempt, 14th in missed tackles. Missed tackles is a big, big problem for the Tar Heels over the last. You're rolling your eyes.
I am rolling my eyes.
That stuff matters.
Because you have to get guys in the building. You have to recruit guys. If that's what your strength is, then let that be his strength, and let somebody else worry about the other stuff.
Okay,
we can all have different roles on a staff, Joe.
I'm with you on that. But
make him the timeout coordinator. I don't care. But for real, somebody like Dre Bly is going to have a hard time coaching in the sense that Dre Bly is one of the best corners to ever play ACC football.
Yeah.
All right. So he's like a Larry Bird, a Magic Johnson. When they coach, they're like, wait, you can't do this thing that I did?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right. It's easy for me.
And Tony Grimes is the 5-star recruit, but he's from Virginia. That's where Dre's from, and Dre went up and got him. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Tony, it was a mess. But I'm not going to put that on Dre when Dre's not the defensive coordinator. He's not the one making the calls.
Yeah.
Okay? Should the corners have developed more under Dre? I think that is a fair criticism.
I think that's fair.
But I also think you have to look at the trade of what a guy's worth.
Okay.
And set your program. It has been demonstrated when you don't have a great quarterback, your program wins 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games a year. Sam Howell was going to Florida State. Mm-hmm. We could probably get Willie Taggart on this phone right now and see where Willie Taggart would be in his life if Sam Howell went to Florida State.
That's fair.
And saved Willie Taggart's job. So, to me, I look at it like, can you recruit? Can you help me be a better team? Mm-hmm. Yes. The answer to that is yes. It is then Mac Brown or Gene Chizik or anyone else's job to look at what Dre is doing with the players and say, well, what is our best use for his role on our staff. And can we live without him being a recruiter? They're going to find out if they can live without him being a recruiter. It'd be interesting.
Well, that's
because his other nephew's going to Alabama, by the way.
That's the part that I'm kind of curious about, and I'm not trying to be cavalier about this, but honestly, how hard is it to be at North Carolina and recruit from within the state versus NC State versus ECU versus App State? Again, within the state,
there's a built-in advantage. There's no doubt. But
you have to actively be bad at it, Larry Fedora.
Sure.
To end up where North Carolina ended up at the end of his tenure. It just took, and it's Mac Brown, for heaven's sake, okay, who can then come in and.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Dre was coaching at the high school level.
I get that.
His family.
I get that.
So he had a lot of connections in the Charlotte area with high school coaches and recruits.
I am not going to disagree with.
I thought it was the smartest hire that Mac made.
I am not going to disagree with you in the aspect of Dre Bly really helped with recruiting, and key guys that you mentioned don't go there without Dre Bly. But my overall point is how much of the trade-off is stacking those recruiting classes without the development? How much of it is North Carolina can still go out and get these?
Do you think
types
Storm
of players?
Duck's a good player?
Yes.
I do too. Does he get any credit for that? If we're going to bag on him for Grimes, does he get credit for Storm Duck?
Fair point.
Okay.
I know it's a fair point. It's a fair point. But
and I don't know what he's doing with I don't know if he coaches the safeties at all. I will just straight up tell you now that the kid's at Virginia, and I've had this conversation with people who have been to practice and talk to Carolina coaches. Cam Kelly was never in the right place, ever. Like, ever. And they told me, when you go to practice, the kid looks like Javon Curse. He is an amazing athlete. Amazing.
But,
he's a Trojan horse.
Yeah. Look, there's multiple ways to make it work in a regular season. And as much as we obsess over recruiting, and I'm not one of these guys to tell you that stars don't matter, you can point to any number of metrics and look at the teams that showed up in the national championship game or Georgia and how they won it and how they've surpassed Alabama is in getting the dudes. I get all that stuff. But there's another component to that. And the biggest problem for North Carolina in Mac Brown 2.0 has been the development of the talent when they got there versus when they leave. And sometimes they leave even earlier than that. I mean, it's not lost on me that Dre Bly's out, mutually agreed to part ways, when a lot of his key guys were also leaving even before this news came out. So maybe they got wind of what was going on. Maybe they realized this wasn't the place for me, and they didn't want a repeat of that with more guys coming in.
This is also not the Carolina way. I can't tell you how many different NC State we'll use basketball for example.
Sure.
How many different NC State basketball players I have ever talked to who said that either they'll try to get something with the school, try to get something in the program, and it's like nothing. He goes, this is not what Carolina does. Carolina always takes care of their own. Again, Dre Bly was not just some jabroni who played for Carolina. All right?
He was one of the greatest to play for Carolina.
He set the ACC record for interceptions while he was in school.
Yes.
It was All-American multiple times, went on and won a Super Bowl with the Rams, and played in the NFL for a long time. Like, this is not just some guy. This is not, Dante Page Moss, who you could turn your back on.
Why do you got to do Dante Page Moss?
This is not some random guy who was here for a hot second and you turn your back on.
What did Dante Page Moss do to you?
Okay?
Giglio's fired up. I like it.
Don't you dare say bad words about Dre Bly.
The OG.